The opening of the Major League Baseball season is here. Whoa! What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airwaves of ESPN Radio and ESPN News, 250-plus markets across the United States of America. Check your AM, FM listening nearest you. Check that dial nearest you. Plus ESPN Radio on Sirius XM, Channel 80. Plus ESPN Radio simulcast over the live national television airwaves of ESPN News. The number to call up, as always, is 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. The Stephen A. Smith Show is being brought to you by Credit Karma. Get your truly free credit scores and free credit monitoring from Credit Karma today. That's Credit Karma, K-A-R-M-A. Get knowing. Time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Look, my apologies to the city of Boston, the city of champions these days. They are the reigning, defending World Series champions, along with the reigning, defending Super Bowl champions. We can't ignore that reality. But your reign of terror upon New Yorkers and Yankee fans everywhere will come to an end this year. It'll come to an end this year. Now, why do I say such things? I have no damn idea. I'm emotional when it comes to my Yankees. Somewhere along the way, Buster Olney, Tim Kirkchin, and everybody else, Jeff Passer, let's not forget them. They're all laughing at me. They like laughing at me. Because they know that I get very, very emotional about my New York Yankees. Not so much about the Mets. Not so much about the Mets. I leave that to Don Juan LaGreca, Michael K's sidekick on the Michael K Show on 98.7 FM in New York City every weekday. I'll let him get emotional about the Mets. I'm just proud that the Mets finally did something right in signing Jacob deGrom to that 5-year, $137.5 million contract. Same amount of money Jimmy Garoppolo is making in the NFL. No parallel there, just giving you the numbers. But I'll get to the New York Mets sometime later. Forgive me if I don't think that they're that relevant. Forgive me if I don't think that the Mets are that relevant, because I don't expect them to be healthy. And because I don't expect them to be healthy, I don't expect them to be better than the Braves. I don't expect them to be better than the Nationals, who they're starting to play right now in the nation's capital. I don't expect them to be better than the Phillies, who now have Bryce Harper. So forgive me if I'm not going to be sold on the Mets. I'll be damned if I'm not sold on my Yankees, though. And I understand that the Yankees have formidable opposition. Some people are picking them as the favorites. Until further notice, they're actually the third best team in the American League, because that's how it finished last year. Yankees had 100 wins last year, ladies and gentlemen. But you know something? The Houston Astros had 103. You know something else? The Boston Red Sox had 108. So not only were they the third best team in the American League, based on record alone last year, if you really look at it, if you really look at it, and you want to call a spade, on paper, the Yankees are the third best team now. I mean, just look at the reigning, defending World Series champions. Just look at them right now. When you look at the Boston Red Sox, Chris Sale, he signed to a new contract extension, shoulder injury and all, he's locked in at an average of about $30 million a year over the next 3 years, even though it's a 5-year deal. Bottom line is Chris Sale is there. David Price has proven himself in the postseason. Shut up all naysayers. He's there. Porcello is there. Evaldi is there. Eduardo Rodriguez, he's there. So when you look at it from that perspective, and you look at the outfield of the Boston Red Sox, from Benintendi to Bradley Jr., and of course, the great Mookie Betts with J.D. Martinez as your DH. I mean, come on. There's no denying that the Boston Red Sox deserve to be the favorite, but damn it, I don't believe that lightning is striking in a bottle twice. I don't believe that you could have the kind of year that you had last year, Boston Red Sox. You are going down. Clearly, it's an emotional position that I'm taking, but nevertheless, I'm entitled. Because I'm a diehard Yankee fan, ladies and gentlemen. And I don't know if I've ever shared this story with y'all on a personal level. So I'm going to just do it right now. I'm just going to get a little personal. Stevie A gonna get a little personal with y'all. I usually don't let people in. I don't like this age of reality TV where everybody's talking their personal business over social media. That disgusts me. When I'm talking on sports, social media, I'm talking about sports. I'm talking about what my job entails. My personal life ain't none of your damn business. And I personally believe In this Kardashian-stained world that we're living in, somebody needs to have that kind of attitude like me, where you keep your personal business out of the equation. However, there are exceptions. Looking at my man JC and Jonathan, there are exceptions. And those exceptions arrive when you have a little personal story, a little personal anecdotes that you could throw out to the viewing and listening public, because after all, even though Stevie A loves the kids, he sure does. It's not just the kids I love. I love all my listeners. I love my viewers. I love my supporters. So I'm going to share something with you. I was born in the Bronx, New York. I was raised in Hollis, Queens. Been living in Hollis, Queens, or I was living in Hollis, Queens since the time I was 1.5 years old. Ladies and gentlemen, before there was a Citi Field, there was something called Shea Stadium. When you look at Fresh Meadows, Flushing Meadows, and you just see the ball, there was no Arthur Ashe Tennis Center there. That's where we used to go, Flushing Meadow Park. That's where we used to go to have picnics on Sunday afternoons. It's when the world was a safer, more gentle place. Listen to me sounding like I'm 80 years old. The point that I'm trying to make to you is that Hollis, Queens is about 10 minutes from Flushing Meadow. It's about 10 minutes from the old Shea Stadium, which, you know, and now you got Citi Field there. I grew up about 10 to 15 minutes away from there. You had to get through there to go to the Bronx. You could take the Throgs Neck, take that to the Cross Bronx Expressway, roll that way to Yankee Stadium, or you could take the E or the F train from Queens. You could connect to the D train, and the D train will take you to Yankee Stadium. All of that's true. But essentially, it was easier to get to the Mets than the Yankees. Ladies and gentlemen, I was never allowed to watch the Mets. My father, God rest his soul, had a rule in his house. There's no exaggeration, fellas. I never saw the Mets until I was 18 years old. Wasn't allowed to go to Mets games. Wasn't allowed to watch the Mets on TV. We were a Yankee house. Die hard. My father loved the Yankees so much and detested the Mets so much, he was appalled that the Mets had pinstripes. It was blasphemous to him. Sacrilegious to him that the New York Mets would even have pinstripes, but that's neither here nor there. The point that I'm trying to make to you is that before I made sports my profession, I barely knew there was another baseball team in New York City because my father wouldn't allow it. These were about the New York Yankees. And when you look at the New York Yankees today, and you look at the expectations that have been placed on their shoulders, it's nothing new. As far as we're concerned, this is where it's supposed to be. I see the Boston Red Sox. I see what they've assembled. I see the fact that they're champions. I get all of that. And I look at some question marks about the New York Yankees. I look at Severino not being ready to go opening day. I look at CeCe Sabathia not ready to go as well, approaching the last year of his contract, age 37. This is it for him. I'm seeing all of this. And I got to tell you something. I don't care. As I look at the Yankees now, I like the fact that Paxton is here now. J.A. Happ, I'm not sold on him come postseason time. This kid Paxton, we'll see what he has. Can't wait for Severino and these boys to get back. But here's the reality of the situation. Chapman is still your closer. Sanchez, he's got some things to prove. And everybody want to act like he's such a scrub or whatever the case may be. I don't view Sanchez that way. He's got to improve. Particularly keeping the ball in front of him instead of letting him go by him, even though that was about just 3% of the time. But in the end, I look at Sanchez. I look at Torres. I look at Andujar. I like the fact that Tulowitzki is here, at least until Gregorius comes back. Giancarlo saying I expect big things from him. That's why you get you missed the $325 million contract. Aaron Judge, I expect big things from him. He's healthy now. Gardner's still here. Bird's still here. I get all of this. The Yankees have a crew. Nobody's got a bullpen like the Yankees. Should say anybody, but most teams don't. I'm expecting the Yankees to handle their business. But I'll tell you something right now. As great as the Boston Red Sox have been, I got news for you. I'm more worried about the Houston Astros. I really am. I mean, I just look at this road. Listen, Verlander's still there. I love Verlander. I'm a huge, huge Verlander fan. Jericola's no scrub either. Yankees would know something about that. Molly, McHugh, all of these guys. These guys can play. I remember Altuve being hurt last year. There was issues with Bregman as well. Now they're both back. Correa as well. He's back. Brantley's there. Good pickup. Springer's still there. I'm just looking at them right now. And they won 103 games last year. I'm not underestimating the Houston Astros by any stretch of the imagination. Make no mistake about it. They're formidable. They were champions 2 years ago. They won 103 games last year. It is a mistake to count them out. Plain and simple. But Boston's the creme de la creme. That, to me, is the American League. I don't care about anybody else in the American League. I know Mike Trout made noise because he's got a 12-year, $426 million deal. And he deserves every penny. And congratulations to him. Angels ain't going anywhere, though. Not for at least another year or two. What am I supposed to be sold on? Detroit? How about Seattle? Am I really supposed to be sold? I'm not. I'm just not. And I don't know enough about those teams. See, when it comes to baseball, unlike basketball, unlike football, I don't care about prognostications when it comes to baseball. I don't care about that, Jonathan. That doesn't matter to me. What I care most about is after I see you. So I'll be talking about baseball as the season progresses, as the games are played. By the way, Robinson Cano, formerly of the New York Yankees, then played with the Seattle Mariners after signing that 10-year, $240 million deal the Yankees wouldn't give him. He is a New York Met now. His first at-bat as a New York Met, his first regular season game, he just smacked a home run. Off Max Scherzer. Because we all know what a bad boy Scherzer is. Robinson Cano just hit a blast. Just hit a home run. That brother can play. We know that. We get all that. Let's see if it lasts. Let's see if it lasts. The Yankees have been fine without him, even though I never wanted him to leave. I'll admit that. I never wanted him to leave. But Robinson Cano just hit a blast. I couldn't see the TV from this angle. Jonathan, is that a solo shot? Two-run blast? Solo shot? Solo shot. That's what it is. So Robinson Cano is here. Get Cespedes back. Keep your pitchers healthy. And maybe, just maybe, I'll believe in the New York Mets. Maybe, just maybe, I'll think they could do something. I know what DeGrom can do. Syndergaard, I know what he can do when healthy. But can he stay healthy? Can Wheeler stay healthy? Can Matt stay healthy? Can Vargas stay healthy? I don't know. These are the Mets. I don't know if it's something in the water in Queens or something. I don't know what the hell's going on with them. Can't seem to stay healthy. Let's see what happens. But I'm just looking at their roster right now. I know you got Cano there. Lowry, Rosario, Conforto. I mean, what am I supposed to believe in this? Ramos, what am I supposed to believe? I just don't know. I just don't know. We'll see. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. I had Jessica Mendoza come on First Take this morning. First Take every weekday morning, 10 a.m. to 12 noon on ESPN Eastern Standard Time, 7 to 9 a.m. Pacific. Jessica Mendoza sits there and says, hey, she's going with the Red Sox until further notice because they're the reigning defending champions. Obviously, she's looking at the Yankees as formidable. She's looking at the Houston Astros as formidable, of course. But then she goes to the National League East and says it's the best division in baseball. I don't understand why. Because they got Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper was voted the most overrated player in the MLB, according to a poll by The Athletic, polling other Major League Baseball players, anonymously, of course. Here's the deal. I think they're calling him overrated because of the money he's getting paid. $330 million over 13 years for Bryce Harper. I think that's what they're sweating. Me personally, I'm not thinking it along those lines. I think he was awful in the first half of the season when he was batting just 214 last year with the Nationals. Came on strong in the second half, batted about 300. Can that continue? It remains to be seen. The Nationals, I don't know what they're going to be without him. The Mets, I don't believe in them. So I'm just going to watch and see things unfold because I haven't seen enough of these folks, don't know enough about these folks to give you a definitive position about them. I know this much, though. I know my Yankees. I know them. And I can tell you this right now. I'm tired of seeing the Yankees get to the postseason and then going home so early. I'm tired of seeing their pitching coming up short. A couple of years ago when they went up against the Astros, that was an epic series. And they beat the Indians before that. That was something special to behold. And seeing Aaron Judge and Sanchez and those boys, those cardiac kids, a.k.a. the Bronx Bombers, respond like Bronx Bombers are supposed to, was very, very beautiful to see. But then they'd go to Houston against that pitching, and you just knew they wouldn't have enough. So we shall see. Time will tell. I'll be watching. Yankees, you see the acquisitions. Paxton, DJ, Adam Ottavino, Troy Tulowitzki. Not bad. Not bad at all. I wasn't sold on Sonny Gray at all. Might miss McCutcheon a little bit. Lance Lynn, Robertson, whatever. I'm interested in seeing what Paxton does, though. I am interested in seeing that. 888-SAY-ESPN is always the number to call up. It's 888-729-3776. You are listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. I want to transition to a little basketball for a couple of reasons. Number one, this MVP race that everybody keeps talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to be very, very clear because you got listeners in Milwaukee out there too, and I want everybody to understand. I understand the Greek freak is a freak of nature. Gained like 57 pounds of muscle since he first entered the league. The dude's a stud. And he has the right temperament, the right attitude. Ain't trying to befriend anybody. Very compelling interview he sat down and did with Adrian Wojnarowski, our extraordinary NBA insider. All of those things are true. But I personally am of the mindset that James Harden's the league MVP. And here's why I feel that way. And I want everybody to stay with me on this because I'm really interested in hearing your opinions. When I think about the Greek freak, I think about the athletes with length that he has around him and the exceptional coaching that's buffered him as well in Milwaukee. They're top three in both offense and defense. Budenholzer is going to win Coach of the Year honors. One could say Mike Malone in Denver, too, with the job that he has done. But I think Budenholzer, head and shoulders above everybody else, has proven that this year. When I look at James Harden, I'm like, that ain't about no D'Antoni system. It's not about defense. It's not about a collective effort. He has carried that franchise on his back. As great as Chris Paul is, Chris Paul missed 24 games this year. Clint Capella has missed his share of games. Eric Gordon has missed his share of games. They didn't have Trevor Ariza until they picked up Kenneth Faried about 30 or 40 games into the season. I'm sorry. You look at the Houston Rockets. James Harden has carried that franchise on his back. He's had more than 5 games where he's dropped over 50. About 3 games where he's dropped over 60. Since he dropped like 50 or 51 on the Lakers December 13th. Since December 13th, he's averaged 40. And there's nothing you can say to me about James Harden. He has been absolutely, positively spectacular. And I cannot consciously look at somebody else and say, they're the MVP. I understand you talk about best player on best team, blah, blah, blah. I get that. And that definitely is the Greek freak. But if you look at the coaching coaching of Mike Budenholzer and the collective defensive tenacity of the Milwaukee Bucks. The Greek Freak's got a lot of help. He's got a lot of assistance. And oh, by the way, he's playing in a weaker conference. And not only is the East weak, but now it doesn't have LeBron. Now you juxtapose that to the West that does have LeBron and Durant and Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Russell Westbrook and Paul George. Look, man, you cannot dismiss what we have seen from James Harden. That ain't system that's assisting James Harden. James Harden has the ball in his hands. James Harden, ladies and gentlemen, has been averaging better than 29 points per game for the last 4 years. About a year or two before D'Antoni arrived, James Harden was averaging damn near 30. Now, that's not to knock Mike D'Antoni in any way. I'm simply making a point to point out somebody needs to take a pause and recognize how special James Harden is as an offensive talent. He's not the defensive player that Giannis is, not by a long shot, doesn't even try. But could Giannis do what he's doing offensively? You can only bully but so many people. James Harden's my MVP, y'all. He's just that great offensively. And I got to give him love on that level. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. By the way, I'll touch on Kobe and what he had to say about himself, MJ, and LeBron in just a minute. That was Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage in America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. I'll also get into a discussion about who really is the best player in the world right now in basketball. We'll continue that discussion. Plus, we're talking Major League Baseball as well. Little NFL stuff to get into. It doesn't matter what it is. The Dallas Cowboys, the New York Giants, the Cleveland Browns. Doesn't matter. I'm right here. The Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. By the way, do you have frequent heartburn? Like the kind where you have an acid stashed everywhere in case it pops up? You know what I mean. You keep some in your bag or your desk or your car or your nightstand. You have those chalky tablets ready for whenever and wherever heartburn strikes. But listen up. There's an easier way to deal with your heartburn.
The entire stadium is going to be screaming for every play like that to be reviewed. For the booth to buzz down, let's take another look at it. Think about the number of plays that we could have in the last 2 minutes of a first half, and oh my God, with the game on the line, the last 2 minutes of the game, where all of a sudden, before you run the next play, the replay booth is going to have to buzz down to see if maybe someone grazed a wide receiver just a shade too early, and now it may be, in this era of looking for things to overturn, rather than only using replay to overturn the most egregious things, looking for things to overturn, that you may get constant stoppages in the last 2 minutes of each half because of potential game-changing plays. There's no penalty in all of football that more greatly alters the outcome or can than pass interference. It's the only penalty in football that can be over 15 yards, right? What other penalty in football can be a 30, 40, 50-yard penalty? Hail Marys might have to go to the replay booth just to see if maybe a defensive back on a jump ball grazed a guy a little early, altered his ability to get to the ball. Now all of a sudden you get the ball at the 1 yard line. Because if you slow it down on super slow-mo instant replay and you see even a hint of a non-flag thrown pass interference, and now you've got the ability to change that call, you really don't have an excuse not to. I think it's terrible. And I would have been right there with the Bengals voting against it. When you start to go to replay on calls that are judgment calls, you start to bring much more of a human out. This is no longer, did he break the plane or not? Did he step out of bounds or not? Did he catch it or not? The black and white line calls that have to do with, you're supposed to be able to see, like, without a doubt evidence that you got the call right or wrong. This is now a judgment call. How many times are you watching a game where you you see a play that you would call pass interference that the guy on the field didn't?
The Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Stephen A. Smith Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, and you can always get in touch with the show through the 1-800-Flowers Twitter feed.
Yeah. Yankees. Yes, we're the Yankees. Luke Voigt, DH, comes up there, smacks a 3-run shot over the center field wall. Yankees up 3-0. No surprise there. They're playing the hapless Baltimore Orioles. What do you expect? No news there. Welcome back to Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Stephen A. Smith Show is being brought to you by Uber. Uber Rewards is going to make you love Uber even more. Get all the info and terms at uber.com/rewards. Plus, need seats to a game? Download the Vivid Seats app and enter promo code CHAMPS at checkout to get 10% off your first order. Don't buy just any seat. Get a Vivid seat. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. As an aside, let's make sure I'm talking about Boston and Houston. Let's keep these two things in mind. Okay? In Boston's case, you're going to need Chris Sale to show up this year. You're going to need that. I'm keeping in mind, sore shoulder, spent time on the injured list last year, threw 56 fewer innings than he did the previous year. That happens again with their questionable bullpen. I think that's right for the taker for the Yankees. And in the case of Houston, you have McHugh, Wiley, and Peacock. I mean, those are your guys right now, your 3, 4, and 5 starters. Last year was Keuchel, Morton, and McCullers Jr. It's different this year. If those guys don't show up and Verlander doesn't have a stellar season, who knows? So the Yankees could do some things now. Yankees could do some things. I'm just saying. Hope can spring eternal. By the way, got a lot of stuff to get into today because the Sweet 16 is taking place. Got some NCAA action to get into. The right for folks to end up in the Final Four shall be determined this weekend, so I'm looking forward to that. Duke, Virginia Tech, pay attention to that because it's Zion. But to me, I'm looking forward to North Carolina, Auburn. I'm looking forward to that game. I really, really am. There's a lot of stuff to get into, and I'll get into Kobe and some KD stuff and all of that in just a minute. 888-SAY-ESPN is always the number to call. It's 888-729-3776. Let's go to Marlon. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Marlon?
I'm all right.
Talk to me.
He was just saying that Antetokounmpo, they have weak teams in the East, but all year round, they're playing teams in the West also. So I think the MVP race
you play more games against people within your conference than you do on the road, but everybody plays each other. That's all. Go ahead.
Yes, I feel the MVP should be judged based on your all-around game, not only just scoring. You got to be playing defense and helping out and assists, and that's the way I think it should be judged. Well,
that's your opinion. You're entitled to it. I don't think it's that simple. I think you have to take into account the level of help people have. I think you have to take into account the responsibility that people are asked to carry. What would James Harden be doing if he were in Milwaukee? Okay, chances are you got a coach like Budenholzer. You got lengthy defenders all around you. And the combination of those things could help you. Now, I don't think you'd be as good defensively without the Greek Freak, but I think you'd be even better offensively. And I think that's something that you have to pay attention to. We can look at it a multitude of ways. I just think it comes down to the load that you're asked to carry. What you're asked to actually do, I think that matters. I pay attention to that, and that's why I would give James Harden the edge. Not to knock the Greek Freak in any way. I think he's a future face of this league. I love his mentality, his no-nonsense approach, how he ain't trying to hug and sing kumbaya with opponents. He's trying to cut their throat and take their heads off. I don't, figuratively speaking, of course, I don't mind it at all. I love that. I absolutely positively love that about the Greek Freak. But I think James Harden has been nothing short of sensational this year, and I got to give credit where credit is due in that regard.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the call, man. Let's go to Jay. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Yeah, Stephen A. This is Jay Bates from Kentucky.
Okay. How are you, sir?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Two questions. Number one is, how do you think my sorry Reds are going to do this year?
Not much. Not much. Not much. The only reason why you're relevant is because you acquired Yasiel Puig. That's it. That's it.
Nobody. They made some moves and supposedly got better. So
hold on. Wait a minute. They have gotten better, and I don't mean to imply that they did not. What I'm simply saying is, first of all, I don't know too much about the Cincinnati Reds. I got to do more of my homework on them, so I'm not going to lie to you about that. But I will tell you that even though people are saying that they're getting better, nobody's confusing them into interpreting them as a championship contender. You think about the Dodgers, you think about the Cubs, you think about somebody coming out of the National League East, probably the Philadelphia Phillies with the acquisition of Bryce Harper, McCutchen being there, etc. You're not thinking about the Cincinnati Reds, to be quite honest with you. You think about the Milwaukee Bucks, you think about the Chicago Cubs before you think about the Cincinnati Reds, because the Cincinnati Reds have been so dormant for so long.
Oh, I know. I understand what you're saying. My second question is what chance do you give my Kentucky Wildcats to make it to the Final Four?
They got a shot. They got a shot. I'm going to give credit where credit is due. First of all, they got Calipari. I don't think that ever hurts. That's number one. I think that's something that needs to be pointed out. Number two, I like some of the cats that they have, and I've been pleased with what I'm seeing from them. Now, the question to me is, are you going to sit up there and not turn the ball over? This is Kentucky that we're talking about here. Are you going to avoid turning the ball over? They're going up against Wofford, all right? You should be able. I'm sorry, they beat them. You get ready to go up against Houston. I apologize. Houston's formidable, man. Houston's had a stellar season. And I wouldn't sleep on Houston by any stretch of the imagination. And they can hit perimeter shots. I only saw Houston a couple of times this year when they played Cincinnati. That's the only time that I really saw them this year. But I would tell you, as I'm telling you right now, when I look at them, I say to myself, excuse me, they have the potential to take Kentucky out of there because Kentucky, ripe with young kids, sometimes don't show up when it counts. And I watched them lose that conference tournament game to Tennessee. So I'm not sold on Kentucky right now. I really am not.
I'm wondering if we're going without P.J. Washington. I'm wondering if we're going to get by Houston.
I don't think you will. It's a chance. I'm not going to rule out anything with John Calipari. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I'm not going to do that. But I'm telling you right now, I'm not sold on them. P.J. Washington is a big, big competitor. Keldon Johnson can ball too now. Let's not forget him. Hero, he can ball too. He's a freshman though. I'm just looking at Kentucky right now, and I'm just saying, listen, P.J. Washington is a pivotal piece. You going without him, that's not a good position to be in. It just isn't. So I don't have a lot of faith in what Kentucky can do. The only reason I'm believing in them is because this is John Calipari that we're talking about here. And when it's John Calipari, you got to believe that if anybody can find a way, he has. But in all his years of coaching, and we have to give credit to his greatness the way we should, the reality is he only has one national championship on his resume. And why is that? That was because of Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is the only guy that was ever able to deliver John Calipari a championship. Houston's 33-3 this year. Kelvin Sampson is doing a hell of a job.
He is.
The man knows how to coach. He knows what he's doing. And this kid, Corey Davis Jr., can ball. Amani Brooks isn't bad.
No, I personally don't think if PJ does not come back, I don't think Kentucky will beat Houston.
I agree with you. I don't think they're beating Houston without PJ, but if PJ does come back, you got a shot. Appreciate the call. Number 3 seed in the Midwest region. I kind of like that matchup, to be honest with you. I'm interested in it as well. Let's go to Rob. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Rob?
What's going on, A?
How are you? Go ahead, man.
I'm good. I was watching a game yesterday with Utah and Lakers, and I know we're seeing LeBron James in a way that we're not used to seeing. We're not used to seeing him in the West. Mm-hmm. We're not used to seeing him hurt and missing 17, 18 games. Mm-hmm. And we're not used to seeing LeBron James not make the playoffs. But what bothered me the most last night was when they said LeBron James, and that's my guy. I ride with LeBron James. He's the king. But when they said that he's not playing because he needs rest, what rest? You're going to be on permanent rest in another 8 after 8 games.
Well, let me stop you right there. Let me stop you right there. Let me stop you right there. You shouldn't care about that. And here's the reason why you shouldn't care. The reality of the situation is we need to see what some of these other Lakers are going to do. All right? Changes are coming in LA. You're going to see a roster overhaul. You're going to see Luke Walton get fired probably the day after the season's over. You're going to see LeBron and Magic Johnson have a microscope on themselves, the likes of which we haven't seen in recent memory, because we're going to see who they're going to be able to get in free agency. We're going to pay attention to all of that. And I'm simply saying to you, you can't be worried about LeBron James and whether or not he needs rest or not. He's 34 years of age. He's in his 16th NBA season. He's going to playoffs 13 consecutive years. He's going to 8 straight NBA finals. The man has had an additional 2 seasons tacked on to his career based on postseason competition alone. So you shouldn't be sweating that LeBron James took a rest for a meaningless regular season game last night.
Well, true, he's been to all of that. Yeah, he has done all of that. Now, do you think if Magic Johnson doesn't acquire a marquee player to team up with LeBron James, Magic said if he can't do the job, he'll step down on his own. Do you think if he doesn't acquire a player, that Magic should step down? No. Because I think that Magic has made the Lakers relevant. Listen, bottom line is this. Magic hasn't had a great year himself. I didn't like the fact that they drafted Lonzo Ball a couple of years ago. I thought they should have drafted De'Aaron Fox. I thought that was a business move because LeVar Ball had successfully gone about the business of making Lonzo relevant. But I like Lonzo as a person. And I think that he's an unselfish player, and I think he has potential. It's just that I think there are guys picked after him, like Jason Tatum, like De'Aaron Fox, like Markkanen, like Dennis Smith Jr., not really Dennis Smith Jr., but definitely Donovan Mitchell. I think there are guys that have proven to be better or would have been better NBA players than Lonzo is. Having said all of that, I think that when you look at Magic and Zubac being traded to the Clippers, not picking up somebody like a Jamal Crawford and letting him go to Phoenix and Minnesota and places like that when he could have been in your staple, along with various other moves that have been made, Julius Randle going to New Orleans, stuff like that. I just look at some of the moves that the Lakers have made, and I think they're highly questionable. So now you got to go out there and get a free agent. If you don't get them, what are we to believe? I would sit up there and say, ain't nobody going to call for Magic to be fired or anything like that. That's ridiculous. But I do think it's fair to say he could have made better decisions. And I think that's something to consider. I got to run, though. I appreciate the call, man. Thank you. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. You're listening live to Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News, by the way. If you missed my opening segment or show, go check it out on demand in the Stephen A. Smith podcast. Brought to you by the Capital One Saver Card. Earn 4% cash back on dining and entertainment, 2% at grocery stores, and 1% on all other purchases. Hey, what's in your wallet? Also, when you're hiring, you want to waste time sorting through dozens of irrelevant resumes, do you? You want an efficient way to get to a short list of qualified candidates. That's why you need Indeed.com. Post a job in minutes, set up screening questions based on your job requirements, then zero in on qualified candidates using an intuitive online dashboard. Discover why 3 million...
The Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Stephen A. Smith Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, and you can always get in touch with the show through the 1-800-Flowers Twitter feed.
Welcome back to Stephen A. Smith Show. We're coming to you live from the Seaport District at Pier 17, brought to you by Chase. Also, get triple action protection for optimal engine performance with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus. Premium gasoline. 888-SAY-ESPN. That is the number to call up to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Let's go back to the phones. Trevor, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Hey, Stephen A.
Right. Talk to
my guy, my guy Devin Booker recently dropped 2 back-to-back 50-point games on top of last year's 70-point game. I'm curious of your thoughts on his ceiling and what the Suns need to do to to build around him so that they can finally compete again like they used to.
You know what? You know what Devin Booker is? Devin Booker is a younger, poor man's version of James Harden. He has that kind of offensive potential because he's got all the tools offensively. He's just playing in the wrong system for the wrong franchise. If we wish anything for him, we should wish for Devin Booker to be gone so he could be playing for a better franchise. But since he's not, let's pray that the Phoenix Suns will get him some teammates that could actually ball. Hour number 2 up next.
The Stephen A. Smith Show starts right now.
Welcome to hour number 2 of the Stephen A. Smith Show. Coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airwaves of ESPN Radio, ESPN News, 250 plus markets across the United States of America, plus ESPN Radio on Sirius XM, Channel 80, plus ESPN Radio simulcast over the live national television airwaves of ESPN News. ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. The power to save is in your hands. Snapshot from Progressive rewards your safe driving with discounts. Find out more at progressive.com. Plus, you know what never goes out of style? Surprising a friend or loved one with buy one, get one free multicolored rose bouquets for $29.99 from 1-800-Flowers.com. To order, go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. Always my honor and privilege to have my next guest on the line. College basketball analyst extraordinaire, does a phenomenal job covering college basketball for us, not just on Sports Center, but on college basketball game day with Billis, Jay Williams, Reese Davis, and the crew. The great Seth Greenberg is on the line with us right now. What's going on, big time? How are you, sir?
Stephen A., all is good. Yankees are up 3-0. Voit hit a homer.
Yes.
Life is good. The tournament's going Sweet 16 today. Doesn't get any better.
It's nice. No surprise there. I mean, they're playing the Baltimore Orioles. If you can't beat them, something's wrong with you. So I'm not really surprised by that at all, but I'm happy that they started off this season on a good note. Let's get right to some college basketball stuff that's on my mind. Once upon a time, enough people were picking Duke. Then others picked the field. Where are you at right now, Seth, as we look at this Sweet 16 with a weekend that's about to decide who's going to meet in the Final Four? Where's your head at in all of this, sir?
Originally, I did pick Duke, but I'm all into the field right now. And there's a number of reasons. It's not just because of what happened at the Central Florida game and the way they defended him and the way they basically made Trey Jones and others make shots and shrink the court. I mean, the matchup with Taco Fall on Trey Jones was a little bit outside the box, but actually no different than what the Boston Celtics did to Ben Simmons and basically guarding a point guard with a post player. It's more just when I look at this team in the half court, they don't get a lot done. They can turn you over. They can get to the offensive glass. If Zion can dominate you, look, they're phenomenal. R.J. Barrett and Zion, they score half of their points. Here's one thing we're not talking about enough. And we saw this with a Kentucky team that lost the national championship. Or I should say Memphis team that lost the national championship coached by John Calipari. Do you know that Zion Williamson and R.J. Barrett are shooting 52% from the free throw line in the last 2 minutes of the game?
I did not know.
So that's just the way it is. Now, there's not a huge sample size, but, I mean, it's still what it is. I think they're 13 for 25. And, there are going to be close games. That's just the way it is. I mean, the other night, obviously, Zion missed that free throw, and R.J. Barrett was fortunate enough to get the rebound and put it in. If he doesn't get the rebound and put it in, and Taco Fall's still on the court, they rebound the ball, who knows what's going to happen in that game. So, I was the first guy to say Trey Jones was the most important guy on the team and his defense and his ability to pressure the ball. I love that, what the things that Zion Williamson brings to the court. Don't at me. I'm not a hater. I'm just telling you the facts. The facts are that I look at North Carolina the way they're playing. I look at Gonzaga and Florida State, two teams that are, to me, really, really talented. I look at Michigan State now that they're getting healthy with Nick Ward back, and I see, you know what? One of those guys can beat them.
Now, which one? I mean, Seth, don't get Max Kellerman on me. Don't give me about 5 options.
You
I
asked
need
me
one.
if I wanted Duke or the field, so I answered the first question.
Okay.
Now I'll answer the second question.
Yes, I'm listening.
You got to ask the second question before
I'm just saying, you made me nervous, Seth. You made me nervous. That's not. I usually don't have to wait to ask you that second question. You usually give it to me, so I got a little nervous there, Seth Greenberg. I apologize. Go ahead.
It's all good. It's all good. I think the Zags are going to beat him. I think Zagas are going to beat them in the Final Four. In fact, my gut feeling is now I don't think, originally I had Duke and Kentucky. I'm not sure about Kentucky right now with P.J. Washington. I would say Carolina's going to be on the other side. But if P.J. doesn't play, now I've talked to some people the other day, and my gut feeling he is going to play. But
by the way, what is
I
wrong with
think
P.J.?
Zaga has the DNA to win that game. Now, the Zagas got to get past the game against Florida State, who I think no one's talking about, that Leonard Hamilton. Not enough people talk about Leonard Hamilton
and the job that he's done, and the job that he's done at Florida State. And you're absolutely right, because every time we talk about the ACC, we think Coach K, we think Roy Williams. That's what we think about. We forget that this man has been there for years, and Florida State has been formidable for the most part. We don't give Leonard Hamilton nearly as much love as we should. You're absolutely right about that, Seth.
Yeah, and you know about Florida State. I mean, they play. They say they're 18 strong. I mean, they have a great trust. Guys play about 20, 25 minutes. They really believe in each other. Guys embrace their roles. I mean, they're dealing with some tragedy. Phil Kofer's dad passes away. His funeral's this weekend. Our thoughts are with Phil and his family.
Absolutely.
He'll miss this weekend's games, but all of a sudden, a guy like Raekwon Gray steps in and was absolutely phenomenal the other day in Hartford. He reminds me of Draymond Green. They don't get McDonald's All-Americans. They get very good players. They develop their players. The players stick around. You never hear a word about any type of scandal in Florida State. They just do their thing, and they do it quietly, and they do it really efficiently, and I give Leonard all the credit.
You know what? Michigan's in that West region. Same region Gonzaga and Florida State is in. How come you haven't mentioned Michigan enough, particularly after the kind of year they've had, and they're a number 2 seed?
Yeah, I know, and you know what? They got to get past Texas Tech.
Yes,
and
I know.
I think Texas Tech is really good. Michigan has become an elite defensive team. You know, we think of John Beilein, we think of this offensive genius and his creativity, and that's kind of how he's built his reputation. But they're more of a defensive team now. They don't shoot the three as well. They can get stuck offensively. They need Jordan Poole to play well to have a chance to win. And then Xavier Simpson. Xavier Simpson, if you take him off his right hand, he's not as effective. I don't think they're getting by Texas Tech. I really like Texas Tech. Chris Beard, besides being on your show, Stephen A., my next goal is now to be on Chris Beard's Fireside Chat on Twitter, because it's the greatest Twitter follow in the history of life.
Wow, Seth Greenberg right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Let's go to this South region right here, because we've got Virginia, the number 1 seed. They have survived. They handled their business. They got over their doldrums game 1 against, what was that, against Gardner Webb or whatever. And then, of course, they beat Oklahoma. Now they're scheduled to go up against Oregon. Talk to me about that matchup.
That is going to be one heck of a game. 2 really good defensive teams. Do it differently, though, Stephen A. Like, you're looking at Oregon. Here's what Oregon's going to do. They're going to extend their defense, but they're basically extend their defense just to make Virginia or whomever they play use some clock. And after they use some clock, now they're only exposed on the defensive end for maybe 15, 17 seconds, which hurts Virginia, because Virginia is predicated on moving you side to side. They defend the 3, and Kenny Wooten is not a good shot blocker. He's a great shot blocker. The problem that Oregon has is I don't think they have enough ways to score. Virginia has more ways to score it, whether it's DeAndre Hunter, who will be a top 5 draft pick. And the X factor for this game is Kyle Guy. Kyle Guy, I think, is 1 for 15 in the NCAA tournament from the 3. He can't go another game like that. He's just too good a shooter. I think he breaks out of it tonight, has a big game, and I think that Virginia wins.
I had Virginia getting to the Elite 8 and losing to Tennessee. But I got to admit this to you. After watching Purdue beat Villanova by 26, I'm a little bit nervous about that pick. I'm like, what the hell happened? I didn't expect the Jay Wright team to get handled like that, but that's what happened at Villanova when they went up against Purdue. How formidable is Purdue, and what do you have with Purdue and Tennessee going against each other?
You know, I have Tennessee in my bracket. By the way, all 16 teams are alive in my bracket. Steve A., you're welcome.
Yes, there you go. I'm still in the top 1% too, but
selfish brag. But I was at the game the other night against Villanova, and here's the 2 things. And I'm actually picking Purdue to win this game. I think that Carson Edwards is on a Kemba like run, a Kemba Walker like run, the kind of run that he had, with Connecticut.
Yes, you
so
can.
68 points in 2 games. He has the ability, when he's selectively aggressive, to really, really put a lot of pressure on the defense. And then they've got 2 elite difference makers on defense. They got Matt Harms, who blocks shots, who plays with tremendous emotion, and they got Joe Easton, who can guard your point guard, your power forward. Easton will defend Admiral Schofield, and I think Harms will do a good job of protecting the front of the rim. And this team is a team of role players, Purdue. But the great thing is those guys embrace their roles. They don't look at it as like their coach taking away their game. They look at it as, I'm going to play to my strengths. And I like Purdue.
Seth Greenberg right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Listen, but I like Tennessee. I look at Grant Williams. I look at the Admiral himself, Admiral Schofield. I look at these boys and I say, you know what? Listen, they've got some potential. They're together. They believe in themselves. They've got a hard-nosed edge about them. They were second to LSU in their division. But I just think that Tennessee can get this done. What do you believe they have to get it done to offset all of the superlatives you threw out there about Purdue?
Yeah, I think Jordan Bone's going to be the key. Jordan Bone, his ability to defend Carson Edwards. Bone's been like kind of, to me, the guy that makes things go for Tennessee. He's aggressive offensively, maybe the most productive point guard in the SEC. But it's defensively. He's got to do a good job of not allowing Carson Edwards to get going early. If he does that, Tennessee's going to win. If he's unable to do that, Purdue's going to win this game. And Purdue has great depth. And the other thing is the bench of Tennessee. Tennessee's bench has at times disappeared. They've got to get something out of their bench for them to win.
Coach, to me, the game of the weekend is UNC Auburn. That's what I'm looking at. I mean, I'm loving this game right now because I remember how Auburn handled their business against Tennessee in the SEC championship game. But I'm looking at them right now. They were able to beat Kansas, all right, and beat them handily, beat them by about 14. How good is this Auburn team? How much of a threat are they to the North Carolina Tar Heels and Roy Williams?
Now, here's the deal. Kansas isn't the Kansas. We all
That's true.
We think of Kansas. We think Kansas is depleted. No Udoka Azubuike, no Silvio D'Souza, no LaGerald Vick. And then they graduated 4 guys. So, I mean, it's a little different. Look, Auburn, they can create chaos. If they can create chaos and then turn you over and get out in transition and shoot their threes, they're very good. Because they get in the half court, they're not a very good half court defensive team. On the other hand, you're talking about North Carolina, they're going to run, but they're running for layups. I mean, those dudes are running. And Kobe White's coming at you at warp speed. So as long as Carolina takes care of the basketball, I think they run Auburn off the 3-point line. I don't think they overhelp on Jared Harper's penetration. I think they pound Auburn on the glass, and they get the shot they want, and I think Carolina wins. But it will be an entertaining game.
One of the things, Coach, that I watch, we're talking to Seth Greenberg right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. One of the things watching Duke struggle against UCF on Sunday before squeezing out that 1-point victory, I was incredibly nervous because I was like, look, man, I want Zion Williamson playing until the last possible minute of the college basketball season. I think college basketball, particularly in this day and age, needs him that much. How much do you feel college basketball needs Zion Williamson at this particular moment in time with the NCAA tournament going on?
Yeah, I mean, he's been the story. I mean, he's must-see TV. Just look at our ratings. I mean, you mentioned Zion and your ratings go up. Like, the thing that makes Zion Williamson so special, and everyone's going to talk about the running and the jumping and the explosiveness and how can a guy that big, that large, to me, it's his smile. To me, it's his genuine enthusiasm. To me, he's always talking about his teammates. You can talk about what he does on the court. I love what he does when he handles winning. The enjoyment he has seeing his teammates be successful. To me, he's made Duke much more likable. We think of Duke at times, you either love him or you hate him. Mm-hmm. It's hard not to like Zion Williamson. That's the way it is. And his genuine joy of playing the game. And, when everyone talked about he should shut it down and all this jazz.
You know how I felt about that. That wasn't me. You know how I felt about that.
I know. That's my guy, the little brother I never wanted. Jay Will, who I love, and we disagreed with it. We agree to disagree respectfully,
right.
But it's real simple. I mean, he made no qualms about it. These are my guys. I'm sticking with my guys. I came here to play. I love Duke. I love my teammates. I love everything about this experience. And let's face it, he's done a lot for us. He's done a lot for college basketball. he's made a lot of money off of college basketball because if he came out of high school, he wasn't going to make the $100 million on that shoe deal he's going to make next year. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, like everyone says, well, the kids are, not getting a fair deal. Mm-hmm. Some guys, they go to school, we build their brand, we make them even more household names, we market them, and then, at the end of 7 months, they make money off of it.
I appreciate where you're coming from, and for the most part, I hear you. But Seth Greenberg, you ain't sitting here and using that to say that college athletes should not be compensated. You're not going that far, are you?
Here's my take on that. It's not compensated. I think we can do more. See, I never looked at a player of mine, and I coached for 36 years. I know I look pretty good for that long coaching.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do, sir.
I'm very well preserved. Very well preserved. But when I look at it, we can do more. Here's some things we should do for our players. First of all, NCAA tournament, you got 4 airplane. If you have to fly, you got 4 seats. You got hotel. You've got your meals. Boom, everything's paid for. Your son's playing in the NCAA tournament. We should take care of him. Number 2. Every player should get 4 extra tickets for every single home game. Those 4 tickets, the university should sell, all right, and that money should go back to the player. Mm-hmm. So you get your normal 4, you get an extra 4. You should do an autograph signing every single season, all right? Say $30 a poster or whatever it is. At the end of it, you keep that money in, and then we should go to the Olympic model. And if we went to the Olympic model, you know what? I would be fine with that. I don't believe in just the universities paying a player. I never looked at it as one of my players as an employee, but they should be able to use their likeness.
Seth Greenberg right here with Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Seth Greenberg, if you were an NBA team right now, there's no question that Zion Williamson is the number 1 overall pick for you, right? I'm making that assumption.
Yes.
That's the correct assumption, right?
Yes, correct.
Who would be number 2?
What I needed. If I needed a facilitator, a guy that can open up the court, I would for sure, without a doubt, no question, take John Morant. If I needed a guy that's just wired to score, and I had a point guard that I trusted that I think we could make the playoffs with and advance, then I would take R.J. Barrett.
When you look at R.J. Barrett, has there been something about R.J. Barrett that's been missing in your eyes? I don't know. I know he can play. I know he's skilled. I've seen him put up quality numbers. Please don't get me wrong. But I look at an R.J. Barrett, and at the beginning of the season, there was a debate. And it was very early in the season, Coach. Please don't get me wrong. But very early in the season, there was an actual debate as to whether or not he was the best player, on Duke. Because that's how big time. That's right.
Into the season, he exactly. Was draft.
And that's how big time he was. But Zion has definitely elevated to another level. And when we look at R.J. Barrett, he's not ambidextrous. You don't see him using that right hand nearly enough. It's almost like he's going left. He's going left. Do you think to some degree R.J. Barrett's stock has been compromised this season in any way?
No, because he's going to go too. He's going to sign a good shoe deal. He's going to probably be on a bad team. But no, I don't think it's compromised. I think just what Zion was able to do and the energy. Look, Zion impacts your locker room. He impacts your marketing. He impacts your team's visibility. I mean, he instantly does that. I mean, that's just the way it is. I don't think it's anything which R.J. Barrett didn't do. I think it's more what Zion Williamson did do. Now, R.J. Barrett's game, he reminds me of DeMar DeRozan a little bit, and he's kind of a slasher, slice and dice guy that gets in the lane. He's got to be able to shoot it better off the dribble, not as runners, not at the rim. He's pretty good three-point shooter with his feet set. Mm-hmm. He's learning. He's doing a better job of facilitating, getting others involved, and he could be a good defender. Mm-hmm. I like his game. Morant has a second speed, elevates. He's got a gift of vision that is very, very rare. With more space and better players, I think he could be really, really, really special because, NBA, you outlet the ball to the hash mark almost, or about three-point line extended. Now, when he's taking 2 dribbles, he can drop dimes from there with right hand, with left hand. Like I see he's the Patrick Mahomes of college basketball. He's as good at passing with his offhand as Mahomes does when he's zigging and zagging, running out of the pocket and flipping it around all over the place. So he's going to get better. He's got a really good feel. He's a very good teammate. I think his upside is incredible because of his speed, his vision, his elevation. I just think he has a chance to really, really move the needle.
Let me transition because we haven't talked about anybody on Kentucky. I mean, they've got quality players like Washington. We already talked about him. But obviously, we haven't been talking too much about Kentucky the way we had in years past. Not that anybody was talked about the way Zion has been talked about. But when you think about, freshmen, All-Americans, sensational players, you usually had guys coming out of Kentucky. Now we've got a Kentucky going up against a Houston squad, which in the Midwest region, which I think is also an incredibly compelling matchup. Handicap that for me. Break that down for me before I let you go.
Yeah, two teams looking in the mirror. They both both are terrific rebounding teams. Both are terrific defensive teams. Both have very good backcourts. Houston's experienced backcourt. Obviously, Kentucky, a very young backcourt with Ashton Higgins, who should be a senior in high school. All right, Tyler Hero, who's really playing at a high level. Keldon Johnson, who just plays with great energy. If P.J. Washington plays, Kentucky wins this game in the front court. I think the front court depth of Kentucky, whether it's Washington, E.J. Montgomery, Reed Travis, Nick Richards is playing well right now. They will be fine. The one thing that you're going to watch in this game, they're going to double P.J. Washington on the block. How P.J. Washington handles that double team. Is he going to get frustrated? Is he going to catch it and go quick? Is he going to handle it, kick it back out? Everyone who plays P.J. Washington sits on his left shoulder right now, especially when he catches it on the left block because he's working to the middle. I was really like what John did the other day. John got him actually to the other block in the mid-post so he could actually attack middle and then spin back to his left shoulder. I thought that was really, really good the last game they played. So I think Kentucky's slight edge. They've got to do a good job on Corey Davis. They've got to do a good job on Armani Brooks. But I think Kentucky on a slight edge because of their front court.
Kentucky. So, if Kentucky wins, Kentucky, North Carolina meet in the Elite Eight. And meet in the Elite Eight. And you're going with North Carolina, is that correct?
No, P.J. Washington plays. I'm going to go with Kentucky.
What?
They match up well with him. Ashton Higgins did a good job on Kobe White. If P.J. Washington doesn't play, I'll go with North Carolina. And we just said, I guess Nasir Little might not play tomorrow. He's sick and did not practice today.
I got you. Before I let you get on out of here, are we insulting Tom Izzo and the Michigan State Spartans by not talking about them? They're the number 2 seed in Duke's region, and obviously they got a shot as well. I mean, are we not giving them enough credit? They go up against LSU. We're not giving them enough credit?
They're going against LSU. They're a story themselves. So, I mean, like LSU has their own, narrative, with everything they've been through and with what's going on, in college basketball.
Yes.
Tom's team, Cassius Winston's had an incredible year. He's as exciting a player and as good a player as there is in the country. What he's done with that team, they beat Michigan 3 times and trailed like in the last 10 minutes all 3 times. The front court of Michigan State has developed. Xavier Tillman, Nick Ward, and Kenny Goins. Kenny Goins and Tillman, when Ward went out, they have developed into a great chemistry defensively. Matt McQuaid has improved more than anyone. You think about Josh Langford. Josh Langford got hurt early in the season. Everyone said, well, what are they going to do to score? And McQuaid has really stepped up his game. And Aaron Henry, the guy that everyone lost their mind because Tom was actually coaching him and challenging him and demanding of him. He's had a very good freshman year. So, Tom, I don't get into the January, February, March Izzo. Tom just coaches his team. I mean, he just coaches his team. I mean, and he tries to get those guys better, get them prepared, get them tougher. No different than anyone else, except, you know what? He usually does it better than the guy he's coaching against.
By the way, what were your thoughts about Izzo and all the noise that was made about him yelling at one of his players the way that he did? What was your thoughts about that?
I had no, you know what? I mean, look, the optics were bad. The reality is that when you go to play Michigan State, Tom's going to coach you every day. He's going to coach you hard every day. He's going to hold you accountable every day. I saw the 2 plays. I knew it was coming. He didn't run back on defense once, and he melted on a screen the next time. As soon as that timeout came, I was sitting here at home watching the game. I said, oh, boy, here it comes. And like people look at me and go, what do you mean here it comes? I said, Aaron Henry's about ready to get chewed on.
Coach, I had no problem with it whatsoever, Coach. I had no problem with it whatsoever.
Hey, the dude that coached you, he coached you hard.
Please, he slapped me upside my head one time. Now, I wouldn't advocate that. I know we live in different times, but yes, I got slapped upside my head by my coach because I had misread. I did a misread on a defensive play. Can't do that.
Yeah.
Stuff happens.
Yeah, I mean, Tom just holds you accountable. He loves the amount of time he spends with those kids, the relationship he has with those people. Just don't understand. When you have a connection with your team, if you don't have a connection with your team, you can't coach that way.
Coach, are you ready for this?
When you have a connection with your team, You can coach your team hard because they know you love them and they care about you.
Coach, are you ready for this? They're asking me about how I feel about Coach yelling. I was coached by Clarence Big House Gaines. I covered John Chaney and then Larry Brown. And you asking me how I feel about Coach getting on players. I'm worried when a coach doesn't get on them.
You're right about that. You should worry because in that coaching, like John Chaney, how much does his former players love him?
Oh, they love him. He's a father to them. They love him dearly.
Yeah, and he coached them hard.
Very.
That's just the way it is.
Very.
Coach, that's the way it is.
Appreciate you. Talk to you next week once the Final Four is decided. Thanks a lot, buddy. All right, take it easy. Bye. The one and only Seth Greenberg right here with Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Number to call up as always is 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. By the way, if you haven't tried the delicious high-quality meat from Butcher Box, you're going to be blown away. Butcher Box brings you meat the way it's meant to be so you can get all of the benefits you're supposed to get. Unbelievable flavor and unparalleled nutrition. They work closely with the best farms and companies committed to raising animals humanely. From grass-fed beef to free-range organic chicken to wild-caught sockeye salmon from Bristol Bay, Alaska, Butcher Box has over 20 different cuts of meat to choose from with customizable boxes and a variety of other options to choose from. But the Butcher Box comes at an affordable price as well. With free shipping, you can get a month's worth of the best-tasting meat from Butcher Box for less than $6 a meal. I'm going to repeat that. Evidently, y'all didn't hear me correctly. Y'all ain't listening, damn it! Listen up! Free shipping! A month's worth of the best tasting meat for just $6, less than $6 a meal. That's what Butcher Box is offering you. Who the hell else is giving that to you? Open your eyes. Pay attention. Butcher Box offering my listeners. They're offering my listeners free ground beef for the life of your subscription and $20 off your first box when you sign up at butcherbox.com/Stephen A. Don't miss out on this special